Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I am really excited to be here with longtime friend and a dev that just inspires me a lot. Raf, thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
So, Raf, I wanted to kind of start off, tell me what you're building, what you're working on, and then we'll kind of dive into some of the tech that you've really been getting me excited about lately.
Yeah, so I've been a React Native developer since like 2018, 2017, so I've been around for a long time. What got me really interested in it is I like mobile applications and I like the intersection of design and tech. So React Native was very operationally effective, and that was really nice. And right now I'm just really getting into coding with AI agents for that same reason, for that same operational reason. So I'm working on lots and lots of side projects.
Yeah.
I probably have like 5 or 6 going on at the same time, just really exploring how to build really cool things using AI agents.
I was very interested in, you gave a talk the other night. Yeah, talk a little bit about the talk and like the main focus you had for the audience.
Yeah, so the talk was at CallStack's AI meetup before the React Universe Conf. And the talk was on AI for the rest of your technical job.
Yeah.
So we are very focused on AI for coding right now, and there's a lot of companies who kind of expect to see these efficiency gains out of making developers use AI tools. But when you look at some of the stats and surveys, a lot of companies are saying that they're not really getting the benefit that they were expecting. And that's really because the way that we break down the work as developers. And I was really surprised to see the stat that only about 16% of our week is spent actually coding.
Wow.
And then 84% is doing other stuff like communicating with teams, reviewing PRs, or creating technical documents, etc. And so the talk was really about how to use AI and how to use your skills as a developer to help yourself with that other 84%.
So obviously right now there's a lot of buzzword about vibe coding. I have found when I try to teach some of my friends who aren't developers, managers, decision makers, marketers, I want to show them these tools, they get very turned off by the phrase vibe coding. They're like, oh, that's not for me. Or I try to show them the terminal and they're like, oh, well, that command line, I don't use that. And so I'm kind of curious, your premise of using AI for things beyond development, how have you what has been your journey diving into this, and what are some of the tools you're using?
There's a lot of other stuff that as developers we need to work on. So we need to write technical documents, we need to persuade, we need to break down work into tickets. And there's a lot of opportunities for using AI agents like Cloud Code to automate some of these tasks. So one time-saving thing that I like to do is I taught Cloud Code how to work with the Atlassian API so that it would just automatically create JIRA tickets for me.
Wow.
So I have a Cloud Code custom command that says, this is how you create a JIRA ticket in the standard format. And I just run it and say, make me a JIRA ticket that fixes this bug, and it will automatically create it for me. So
in your team or your own instance of JIRA?
Yes, in
Wow.
our own team.
Wow.
Within JIRA.
And then it started with it helped you actually do requirement specs, documents,
Yeah.
and then later you're breaking them down into tickets.
Yeah. AI agents are not just for coding; they can write as well. So a large part of the technical work or the work that we do as developers is write technical documentation. So you can use an AI agent to help you write technical documentation. And hey, guess what? You can break that technical plan into actionable tasks. And hey, guess what? You can tell the AI agent to just write those into JIRA tickets. And so you can automate a lot of that stuff now.
I have a lot of coworkers that are just very resistant of using AI at all because they've seen very bad examples of it used. And so, for example, if you're using a new LLM or a new agent for the first time, you might get it saying like awkward general cliche phrases, or it adds a lot of M dashes, like the typical things where people joke about, this clanker can't do whatever. Are you doing any training, or are you fine tuning your tools so that it's kind of bringing you back what you're expecting? Are you doing any type of training to your tools, or giving it examples of other work so that it is getting closer to what you expect versus it being kind of the AI drivel that a lot of people joke about online?
Yeah, I guess I am fine-tuning, and I'm fine-tuning my brain, really.
Yeah.
I think working with the AI agents or with AI tools is like cooking.
Yeah.
It's a talent that you develop. You're just not going to get it necessarily right the first time. You have to do it over and over, and you really build up experience when you work with AI agents for a long time and you keep trying and trying and trying. The first time I tried to use AI agents or very early AI tools in the IDE, like I wasn't getting really good results, but I keep sticking to it because I want that operational efficiency. And the more you do it, the more experienced you become. So it turns out that getting good results from an AI agent is really about how much context you provide.
Right.
So if you know how to write a good prompt, this is not really like prompt engineering, but like just really providing really good context and really good guardrails.
Communicating well.
Yeah, communicating well. Yeah, just like you would with a teammate.
And you're writing this out. Like this prompt, you're kind of almost journaling out what you're trying to do.
Yeah, but there's also another trick in which you can get the AI agent to do that for you. So imagine that you are working with an AI agent on a blank piece of paper, and you're looking both at it together and writing out a plan together in the piece of paper. Well, you can get the AI agent to do the writing for you, and you can just be like, well, let's change this, let's change that, let's change this other thing.
So
let's
more
add
guiding
stuff.
and orchestrating that, okay.
Yeah, so you start out with a really good plan, and you collaborate, or you vibe write the plan with the AI agent, and then that provides enough context for the AI agent to actually execute the plan well.
I've noticed one thing of some of my friends and colleagues have had a hard time imagining using these AI tools outside of a browser. Like they think, oh, AI, that's a prompt in my browser. And I'm seeing a lot of colleagues like copying and pasting, toggling between their browser and some app. I've noticed when we spent some time together this week, you're using a completely different way, like on device. So kind of what is your workflow? This year, I'm assuming your workflow has changed a lot since last year. And then also, have you spun up any or vibe coded any kind of tools for your own operational, I guess just to be more efficient? Yeah, I would love to geek out on any flow you kind of have to give people a sense of where your head's at.
I think the core realization is that when you have an AI agent on your laptop, it can touch whatever parts of your laptop.
Versus a browser, what's the distinction?
So the distinction I would say is that within a browser, you don't necessarily have, you kind of have restricted access to APIs. So like if you're using like ChatGPT, you can only use the APIs that are available in that browser.
You probably can't view your folders on your, okay.
So one of the things that I do, like geeking out as a developer, is I'll use the AI agent to update my Vim VRC, my Vim
like
RC.
In your command line?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or my CSH RC, or my Tmux configuration file. So one of the ways in which my workflows has changed is that I always wanted to learn Tmux, but I was always too lazy to actually do it. But now that I have an AI agent on my computer, I can get that AI agent to just do the tweaking of the Tmux config file for me, and then that just gives me a better experience. And so because the AI agent can touch files in your computer, there's a lot of really interesting things that you can do to make your life a little bit easier.
So I've had myself and a couple of my friends we've been talking a lot about like kind of separation of like different workers, different agents on my computer. I have one command line open. I have one terminal open here doing some work. I have another one talking about like one way to reduce hallucinations as you're vibe coding or using agentic tools for improving your code is keeping them separate. So the one agent doing QA is different from the one doing design versus being your copywriter. And some of my friends that are a little bit further ahead of me have all been kind of whispering me like, you gotta learn Tmux, you gotta figure out the open source project Tmux. So for the folks watching that, they're all brand new to this, they're even trying to get out of the browser and a command line, let's just geek out a little bit on, give people a peek of Tmux, how you're using it.
It gives you the ability to have like multiple workspaces of terminals. So if you're a Vim user, you can split your terminal window into several panes using Tmux, and you can have BIM on one side, you can have Cloud Code
All within the
on the other
same
side.
terminal session.
Yeah.
Not different tabs.
Not different tabs, all
Okay.
within the same terminal session. And then you can even have multiple sessions for other projects. So one of the reasons why why I've been able to just have a lot of projects going on at the same time is because with the ability to use Tmux and with me getting better at it, I can just switch between projects while I'm waiting for one AI agent to fix a bug in one project. I can just move to another project and get another AI agent working on some other part of the project. So Tmux is a really good way of using multiple terminal sessions to work on multiple projects at the same time. So it's not necessarily even about separating out multiple agents in different parts of the same project. You can just have 4 or 5 different projects going at the same time, just satisfying your curiosity.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Because how would that be different from running just different tabs or different windows of your terminal, like on your Mac or something?
You could totally do it. With Mac workspaces, you can actually have multiple terminal windows at the same time. And you can just use the workspaces gesture to switch back and forth. What I found is that I get confused because I have so many
What's
terminals.
doing what?
Yeah.
Okay.
So sometimes I'll switch to a session and I'll type in a prompt thinking that I'm in one project, and it turns out that I'm in another project. And I'm like, oh, crap. So that's why I started using Tmux, because that way now I just have one terminal, and within that one terminal, I can just switch my views between different projects.
I love it. Yeah, I'm really curious about that idea of learning AI tools or learning whatever through the act of play. And I'm also, I believe you gave a talk recently, or you posted a blog post about the importance of always having a side project. So I'm kind of curious, because I think the way you approach tough problems, I find it very inspiring, and I have multiple times ended off trying the tools you've recommended. So yeah, would love to get inside your head how you think about play and always this side project concept you've brought up.
Yeah, so to provide some context, that came from a presentation that I've been giving recently in Boston meetups, because I've met a lot of people who are looking for a job, et cetera, and they're looking for advice on how to get a job.
And as a developer?
As a developer.
Okay.
And they're just graduating from school or coming out of boot camp. And I tell them, the cold, hard truth is that if you want to get a job, you have to be good. Especially in this economy with AI agents coming out, I guess the skill set is shifting, right? So there's not so much room for junior developers anymore. So you have to be good. And the way to be good is to always be practicing and having a side project. So that, for me, the attitude comes from being very lucky in this regard, in that programming is my video games. That was my escape during high school. You get the moment you get really nerd sniped on something and then you solve it, that feels so good.
Yes.
And for that reason, I've always had some sort of side project. And because I've always had a side project, I've never had any kind of issues finding a job, because I always just had the skills.
And you've stayed curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think fundamentally just having that attitude of play, or just, that is just like fuel that can just drive your development. And so for anybody starting out with AI tools or starting out as a developer, I would recommend you really need to do something that's fun for you, so that process is self-sustaining. Yeah.
Right. Right. I think there's been a lot of developer friends of mine, and even non-developers, who feel like they're being forced to learn these new tools. And I think what's getting lost in that is kind of what you said a little bit recently, is just like, you need to find the thing that excites you, and then you can use these tools to figure out how to get there.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are trying to figure out, how do I become a tech worker? How do I break into tech? And maybe that's not the right fundamental question.
Right.
The right fundamental question is what kind of project's really interesting for me? We also are very spoiled as developers, in that we're in an industry that doesn't require certifications or anything like that.
Right.
So if you just invest in like coding things that you really like, you'll eventually become really good and be able to break into tech.
And I guess the advantage of that is some of your side projects might be commercial, some might be just for fun. And I would imagine that also gives the potential to, you could jump into big companies to solve problems. You could also work on a startup. And I guess there's some aspect of like, you're building your own future by being curious.
Yeah. And as long as you're just following what's true to yourself, you're always going to be motivated to do it and you're going to grow just like a plant. A plant needs to grow. And so if you continually invest in yourself and finding out what's fun for you and spending time doing that, you will grow automatically.
All right, so how long have you been working with React Native? And maybe what is like a favorite release or a favorite version? Like when it came out, you were like, that was so awesome.
Ooh, so I've been working with React Native since 2018. And to be honest, the first thing that comes to mind, not necessarily in terms of release, but a feature that is fundamentally nice about React Native is just the ability to hot reload.
Of course, yep.
Before that, I had worked on Android applications, and it was really annoying
Rebuild,
to have to rebuild.
recompile.
Yeah, so the fact that you could just change code and it automatically updates, that was my original favorite feature. I think that is still my favorite feature for sure.
Developers that are building with React Native, how much do you recommend they have a proper device lab where they test on device versus simulators, like just having iOS and Android and TV just running in like in a simulator environment? What's that trade-off of you don't know unless you see it really on a device versus I also need to iterate quickly? So yeah, how do you think about that?
Yeah, in this regard, I'm also lucky because I've chosen to be an Android user. I think Android is superior. So I have an opportunity to test on device. The interesting thing about tech is that most developers have iPhones. So they never really get around to test on Android. So I would recommend that if you're a React Native developer, that you at least have an Android device nearby. The simulator on iOS is really good.
Okay.
It's pretty, you don't necessarily need to test on an iPhone.
The one that's built into Xcode?
Yeah,
okay.
The one that's built into Xcode. The emulator is like the Android emulator is a little bit slow. It's
the one within
heavy.
Android Studio?
Yes.
Okay.
So I like to connect my phone, my Android phone, to
and actually see it live.
Yeah, and just build it and like try it out and like shake and press the buttons, etc. But it really depends on what your market is. So at the company where I work at right now, we have to support many different device sizes. Mm-hmm. So we make sure to have those different device sizes available in our desk in order to be able to try things out.
Raf, for the folks watching that are maybe web developers or in React and thinking about going to React Native or kind of taking that next step, any advice you'd have for them?
Yeah, I would say try out Expo.
Okay.
And really understand the idea of React Native Web. I would say a lot of companies don't really take advantage of the universality of React Native and React Native Web. A lot of companies, like startups, they'll start out with like their iOS application, and then they'll 2 years later build their Android application, and then maybe they'll do like a web application. And you can get into a state where you have different teams for each platform. But React Native really unifies all of that. So if you're a web developer thinking about moving to React Native, try out Expo. Understand the idioms of React Native. Understand that you can actually build a web app with Expo in React Native, using React Native tags, etc. And then you'll see like, oh yeah, you know what? I can actually build this app for all the platforms right now. You could easily build, a product for iOS, Android, web, TV, all at the same time.
Way faster go to market.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate it, Raf. I think I always enjoy learning from you. This is like the like and subscribe question. But yeah, how can people find you?
I was really lucky to snag the domain raf.dev. So
raf.dev.
raf.dev.
Okay.
And that's where it's an astroblog, which I really like using. So that's where I put the collection of my talks and blog posts, etc.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate all the, you get me just so excited about projects. So thanks for coming today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, man.